Difficult. Women.
Hello.
Hey. Oh
My God.
Oh my gosh.
Hello.
Hello.
I see your eyes.
I can see your face.
You got hair.
I got hair.
You're wearing a hat.
I'm wearing a hat.
You're sitting in my apartment.
I'm in your apartment. I came in with a key. I broke in.
That's right.
You didn't really invite me in. I just came in.
That's right. I was just sitting here with my 2 microphones diddling myself, and you walked in on.
I was like, howdy. You want to do a podcast? Yeah. And who am I? I'm Katy.
I'm Marie.
And this is the Difficult Women podcast.
That's right. If you hear an airplane outside the window, it's because it's open and it's hot in here. But we are potting together in the same room in Brooklyn, New York.
It's at over 6 feet away.
Yeah, we're about 6 feet. I measured it perfectly.
Perfect.
That's right.
We're still social distancing, as you all should be.
Yes.
Across the world.
Hell yeah. Oh God, my chest is hurt.
I know.
You had to bring it up, didn't you?
Well, it's just what it is. Oh my God, this has been a. My heart is heavy. It's just been a rough. Everything's rough.
Everything's pretty rough. Yeah.
God.
I kind of buried my sand. I buried sand.
You
this
buried
week.
some sand.
I just played in a sandbox all week.
Buried it. That's about good.
I don't know. I mean, I never do anything much for my birthday, but this year I was like, you're so lucky to be alive. Let's just celebrate every single day this week in your own way or with friends, whichever way it happens. And this week has been, I've eaten a lot of food.
That's great though.
And
you've done some good things, and we've all done some good things with you, and I'm glad that we celebrated your birthday.
So we got to go to drag bingo on my birthday, thanks to our good friend Britt.
Yes.
Who opened, we've been talking about this bar. You guys, it's so great. It's on a roof called Runaway Roof.
In Bushwick, America.
Bushwick, America.
Bushwick, New York, USA.
Drag bingo. Katy caught inner tube. You were the spike. The drag queen threw it at you, and you caught it. And
I read her mind too, because she was.
2 days later,
I
swam in the ocean with it.
Yeah, it was great.
So fun.
Thank you, drag queen bingo.
Oh, it was so great. And then I went out to City Island, Queens, or the Bronx. It's in the Bronx.
Yeah, it seemed like you had a nice seafood.
Oh my God, I ate literally every little creature that comes
in the sea.
It was very fun. And then yesterday, I took myself on a little date. I walked across the Manhattan Bridge, which I do have a question.
Mm-hmm.
There was a man, I believe he was homeless, possibly. He looked very comfortable in his home, which was the bridge now.
Mm-hmm.
He was diddling him. He had his hand in his pants.
Okay.
And he started yelling things at me.
Oh, no.
I felt very, threatened.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know what, you just keep going.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, I just ignore him and keep going. But then I did have a real big thought, because right now there's so much injustices happening and so many things with the police, that fund the police, all this stuff. But what in that circumstance, I would not want to call the police.
Right. I mean,
what do you do?
Honestly, I don't have an answer for that, but I think that there's a bigger question, which is that what do we do about these the people that clearly doesn't have a place to go,
clearly,
right? And he doesn't seem to be mentally okay. So
yes,
why
his hand
is
on
it?
his penis?
Yeah, exactly.
On the beautiful Manhattan Bridge.
Yeah,
by himself. I mean, like a Greek god lounged in the clouds.
Good
he
for
was
him.
lounging on the bridge with a
place
pillow and some quilts and stuff, but with his hand on his dick,
right,
screaming at me.
So here's my bigger question: why, as a society, are we not taking care of everybody?
Right.
Do you know? Why is the answer to call the police? Why wouldn't the answer be to oh, wait, this gentleman doesn't realize, but we have a whole program, that we've developed. This doesn't exist, by the way, but I'm just saying that this is what we should have. That's very, it's funded by taxpayers or whatever. It's, it's very comfortable. It's good. And it's a safe place for people to be taken care of when they have mental problems and they don't have family or anywhere else to go. In addition to that, why does he not have a family? What does his family, does he come from a very poor background? Why are people so poor? We've got to take care of that as a problem so that we have more, equality financially with people, so that we're not forced to be living on the streets, because there's plenty of mentally disabled people who have families and then they don't live on the streets, but they may have the exact same problem that this gentleman has. But because he probably grew up in a place where he didn't have the finances
right
to be taken care of,
yeah.
you know? So like,
it definitely made my
issue.
brain spiral of like, because I, you know, your women's intuition is like,
oh, of course, and you have to take care
alarm,
of yourself first,
absolutely,
obviously. Like this isn't about you going up to him and being like, "Let me help you," because like, what can you do in that moment? No, that's not the answer.
But as I was walking and feeling my women's intuition, the alarms going off and stuff, and this penis out and things,
and of course you should feel.
But it was the question, like, who do you call in these circumstances right now? And right now, it's just I just kept walking and I ignored it, but it's the next day. I'm still thinking about it because.
Well, and then speaking of the defund the police kind of, you know, or we weren't speaking about it, but now I'm going to speak about defunding the police. Now imagine that we had taken some money away from the NYPD and put it to a mental health service.
Right. And
then
that's
you would have
called.
Yeah, you would call 642.
Right. There's a gentleman
but
who obviously needs help and is accosting women on the bridge.
Right. So it's not very safe for anybody and also not safe for him, and he's not well. And then someone who's a professional would come and then be able to take care of him in a you know, loving way.
Right. Well, after the Dick Waggler of the Manhattan Bridge, I walked across and it was just beautiful.
That's great.
And Manhattan was bustling like it was a Saturday night. So I went to Chinatown. I mean, I'm trying to be positive about this, but there were so many businesses closed and vacant in Chinatown, and that was a little heartbreaking. My favorite place, Shanghai Dumpling, is closed. I don't know if they're going to open, but I did find this awesome place. I had soup dumplings, and then I walked up through Little Italy, and it felt like we were in the south of France.
I see.
And when I say we, me, when I was walking,
royal we.
Oh, it was so cool, though.
See, I want to do that, too. I want to, like, do more. I've been to Manhattan once.
Right.
And it was the middle of the afternoon, and it was
last weekend,
Sunday.
Right?
It was a Sunday. So people were a little out of town just for like regular Sunday out of town. And it was empty. Like there weren't a lot of people the way that there usually are in New York, but it was glorious.
Yeah, it's amazing.
It was kind of quiet in like the best way, and people were enjoying themselves out. And, you know, I don't know. This nonsense about New York is dead. Those people can go fuck
themselves. New York will never die. Come on.
Oh.
But here's the coolest thing.
Yeah.
Which my mom was a little bit anxious about when I was calling her and talking to her, and I was like, I'm gonna go ride the subway now. She's like, what?
How'd it go? Yeah.
It was incredible. It was so clean. I've been hearing, you know, two sides of it. So I wanted to see for myself. And I rode the Q train, solid train, got on Canal, took it to Atlantic Center, and it was the cleanest. Having lived here for 15 years, I was just completely shocked at how beautiful the subway was. And everyone was social distancing. Everyone was wearing masks that I saw. The AC was a pumping. So it was a really... I think
we're really trying. I mean, there's definitely people are really trying, and I've heard some trains are doing great with some of that stuff, and some for some reason some lines are not as social distanced or things like that. But you know what? That's always been a thing in New York, where like some lines are running better than others.
I know, you know the fancy lines, and then you know But anyway,
but it's great. I'm glad to hear
so
that.
Exciting.
Yeah, and I'd like to make more trips into the city. You know where I really want to go, but this is a little depressing. But it would also be just cool. Is I really want to go to Times Square.
I do too. Actually, I
just want to see. We should go. Let's ride our bikes in.
We should go and then record us singing "Girls Poop 2" there.
Oh my God! Yes. Yeah.
The crowds would gather, and so then it'd of course be against like social distancing with like so
Broadway.
many thousands of people. Yeah, but we'd be on Broadway, and let's do it.
I love it.
Anyway, we love New York. If you can't tell,
we love New York. Anyway, speaking of loving people, I don't know. We love emails too.
Oh, we
love
got
New York.
Best
we love
email,
emails.
the best.
Such a great email.
Such a great email.
This is everybody should be writing in emails. We got an email from a fan, and he had just listened to the Myth of Virginity episode,
which blew my mind, and it blew his too.
Yeah, and it blew mine. You know, I mean,
very neat.
There's a lot of
lots of blowing
information or lack thereof. So he writes to us in his email. He says, "Hi, Katy and Marie. I'm loving your podcast and it's bringing me some wisdom and much needed laughs in this crazy time. The virginity episode really hit me and I thought, hey, why not write in? I'm 32 and I'm an adult male virgin." Such a weird phrase. Maybe no experience is a better way to put it. "My first ever date was in March this year, just before the lockdown started here in the UK. You asked in the podcast, how would you feel if you were on a date with a guy and he told you he was a virgin? I don't think I would tell my date unless I was asked. I've thought about how the conversation might go if I got to know a girl better and we wanted to have sex. I would say, so I've never had sex. Is that a red flag for you? You talked about the married at first sight example, how if there's a big gap in sexual experience, that can make it really hard for two people to connect. It's sad but true. I never really thought about that until the last few years, and if I'd realized it when I was younger, it might have encouraged me to explore sex sooner. I'm pretty much in the position of the woman from Married at First Sight. I sort of hope I'll meet someone who doesn't mind my inexperience, but I get that it could be a problem for a lot of people. I've thought about sex therapy, but I would find it deeply weird to be effectively paying for sex. I feel like I shouldn't have to do that. I just need to find someone I can trust and who trusts me and who's willing to give me time. I found a bit of comfort by reading this brilliant article in The Guardian and realized that there are other people out there like me. And then he linked to this great article from The Guardian, and it's called Later in Life Virgins at My Age, It Becomes a Red Flag. And cheers. Best wishes, our fan. Wonderful. This is the kind of stuff we love to hear because we want, we're kind of speaking from whatever our experience is, which is limited to our experience, and to receive feedback like that from an experience that I'm just not that familiar with was really lovely and eye-opening. I think that it has very much to do with our episode too, which is that the stigma around virginity, period. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
And that's kind of one thing that hit me when I read that email. And that he should feel like first, I also feel like there is someone for everyone. So multiple people for everyone.
Yes.
And so I think if he wants to find a relationship, if you're listening, if you want to find a relationship, you will find it. You will find somebody that is looking for the same thing.
Because there's only one unique you.
Yeah.
And there will be another unique partner.
Yeah.
And when you tell them the truth, you're just honest about your own experience, they're going to love you for it. So I don't know. I would say double down on it. Be love yourself, be confident with your past choices. We can never go back to our past. We have to just focus on the present day and the future and know that, yeah, you will meet somebody.
Yeah. And I think also that thing about confidence, one of the things that came up in the article that he shared with us,
which was amazing. You guys, it's by L. Hunt in The Guardian.
It was a great
makes some
read.
Really cool points.
Yes, for sure. And one of which was sort of this guy talking about his experience and that the more years that pass, the more he loses confidence. And the thing about, we talk about this a lot on the podcast about meeting people and falling in love, and because it's hard for everybody to find the person.
Especially in a pandemic.
But it's hard to make connections with humans anyway. But one of the things that we need to make those connections, I think a lot of times, is confidence and loving yourself. So don't allow this one small fact about you, which is like really not anything about who you are,
right,
be a determining factor in whether or not you can feel comfortable like meeting people or not. Some people are going to be jerks about it. Some people are going to not be cool with it, but then those aren't your people. And the same way that like when this is not the same, but sort of the same, when we're like, oh, I'm in a band called Reformed Whores, some men are like, ew, get the fuck out of here. And you're like, okay, well, you're definitely not my person then.
Right.
If you can't accept that about me.
Yeah, I used to hide that information on first dates because I was afraid that the guys wouldn't be into my dreams.
Right. and in some ways too, it's like, and I don't think anyone ever has to advertise how many people they've slept with, whether it be 0 or 200. But I think that there's also stigmas, and they talk about the article too, that we're more comfortable talking about being stigmatized as a slut. But that's also a thing people worry about. So I mean, there's a whole gamut of things to worry about. My point being, don't worry. Like,
don't worry, be
it's
happy.
okay. Yeah, and be yourself. And I was sort of thinking about it this morning, and I know we probably made some snarky comment when we were like, what would you do if a guy told you he was a virgin? And I don't remember what we said. I hope it wasn't too snarky. But I rethought about that question because I'm looking for a partner. Because what's more important to me right now, I think for you too, and I think a lot of people, is finding a good partner, someone that you can like really share a life with and share a relationship with. And I thought, man, if I met somebody and they were perfect for me, like, and I was like falling for them, and they said, hey, here's the thing, I've never had sex before. I don't think that in all honesty, I don't think I would just like write them off immediately. I think I'd be like, well, if you're willing to explore your sexuality with me, then I would like to try that, because we're perfect.
Right.
And sex is very important to me in a relationship. So like if that wasn't the match, then that would be the case. But what if we did it and then it worked out great, or we could like learn together, or, you know what I mean? So I was like, it made me rethink sort of my priorities on that too.
Well, also with this article, it really talks about online dating and how, you know, it's a great way to get out there, because I think we all thought that the only place to meet people are at clubs and pubs and out drinking and stuff, which like definitely in my 20s, I think that's how I met every guy.
Oh yeah, I mean,
But now in my 30s, I'm like, how do you meet somebody? And I do think I think online dating is a great way, especially right now, because people have to kind of court you more because you're not seeing strangers, or you shouldn't be, folks.
Right, or being careful.
You know? Yeah, since we're all, you know, supposed to be
social distancing,
which is hard to date. But
and I think also sometimes with online dating is you can find communities of people. So you might find like-minded people. So if there's like a reason why, you know, and again, in the article, they talked about religious reasons, maybe why you've maintained your virginity, then you might be looking for someone who also has that interest in maintaining their virginity because of they're waiting for marriage.
ChristianMingle.com.
Exactly. But I mean, that's great for online stuff. That actually opens up a world that you maybe didn't know that those people were in your town, you know? So I think that can be great too.
Right.
I don't know. I feel, but it also occurs to me again, tied back into this, our podcast episode, which is that like virginity is a construct. So like the minute you put your dick in something, you're not a virgin anymore. So then what? You know what I mean? Like if you had lost your virginity at 16 and then never had sex again until 32, what is the difference? What is the difference? Right. So the idea that there's any stigma around this concept, period, is crazy. And so you do you. You do you. You know how a good way to do you right now? Oh, yeah.
Actually?
Yeah.
Is going to adamandeve.com.
Yeah, take it away. Free stuff is awesome, but free stuff to spice up your bedroom is even better.
Select almost any one item for 50% off, and then Adam and Eve loads on the free stuff.
Enter offer code HORIO at checkout and get 10 tantalizing free gifts.
A sexy item for him, a special gift for her, and a third item you'll both enjoy.
And 6 free spicy movies.
Ooh! Plus, free shipping.
That's HORIO, WHOREO, HORIO at adamandeve.com.
And we're back.
All right.
I'm pumped about this episode.
Yeah, we're trying to find something. For me, at least, like, there's just been so much negative craziness happening. I'm trying to, like, I just want to talk about something from a positive perspective and trying to make something positive.
I loved when I text you and I was like, what on earth are we going to talk about? And you're like, I don't know. Let's talk about something really happy, like Mr. Rogers.
Yeah, I was like,
you're going to talk for an hour on Mr. Rogers?
I mean, everyone's already seen the movie.
Probably could have, but
everyone's already seen the movie. But just wanted something happy. So we found something that has its ups and downs, but I think that the idea is we're going to try to spin the positive on this.
And that is talking about Senator Kamala Harris.
Yes. And can I so I just found out recently, because I heard her say her own name.
Oh,
and she pronounces it Kamala. Because I was calling her Kamala too.
Kamala.
But then there's an ad with her and Biden. She goes, I'm Kamala Harris. And I was like, oh.
How do you, I can't say that.
Kamala.
Yeah.
So anyway.
Kamala
Harris.
See, I heard somebody say that on a podcast recently. I was like, oh, they said it wrong. Whoops.
Well, I didn't know. I think that
Kamala.
I'm always curious about how to pronounce names in any respect. But the key is always to listen to the person pronounce their own name. Because then it's always right.
Kamala.
So if I was like Katy, then you have to be like, no, yes, your name is absolutely Katy because I pronounce it like that. Right?
Kamala.
Kamala. Yeah. The accent is on the first A. Like in Spanish, when you put an accent on something,
Yeah.
it would be on the first A. It doesn't have an
Look
accent.
at that. I've already learned something.
Yeah,
Thanks
look at that.
for listening to Difficult Women. That's
Yeah.
all.
And I think that that's true because, like I said, she said it. So I'm going to assume.
Yeah. Well, great.
Well, she is, love her or hate her, she is quite an accomplished lady.
I mean, her parents were super accomplished too.
Yes,
Which
yes.
I knew a little bit about her, but doing all this research, first from Oakland, California, born in Oakland, raised in Berkeley in the 60s.
Yeah,
How
I mean,
cool would that have been?
Well,
I
her
think that's
parents
really
met
cool.
at Berkeley, right?
Right. I think
And
so.
they bonded over civil rights, which I think is a cool, important.
Yeah, they used
point.
to take her to protests in stroller.
Yes, I saw that.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
But her mother got her PhD, which I learned. She received her PhD in biology the same year she gave birth to Kamala. Fuck.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry, folks. This is gonna
No,
be
I
a
mean, I
problem.
think that a lot of people have been saying it Kamala, so we're trying to figure it out. But I think,
Kamala.
yeah, there you go.
Yeah. Senator Harris. That's
Yeah,
how
Senator
I'm
Harris.
saying.
Senator Harris. That is definitely appropriate.
But
and
so she
accurate.
got her PhD when she was pregnant and with
Senator Harris.
Senator Harris, which who runs the world? Girls.
Badass. I know.
Oh my God. I watched this video. I posted on Difficult Women. It was a woman working from home while breastfeeding a newborn. And I was like, oh my God, women can do it all. But anyway, and then her father received his PhD from Berkeley in economics.
Yeah,
so if
just
that's
two
not setting up a
smart stock.
brilliant woman.
I mean,
what the-
and
you know.
strong, powerful lady.
And her father is from Jamaica and her mother is from India.
Yes.
Look at that.
It's pretty cool. Cool
Very cool.
background. She got her degree, her undergraduate degree at Howard University in Washington, D.C.
I was
which is
gonna
a
ask,
historically black college.
Yeah, did you know of Howard when you grew up in DC?
Yeah, oh yeah. We're very, very aware of Howard University. Like I said, it's a historically black college, so huge percentage of the people that go are black. So and I also read that she chose Howard University specifically because, and as you may or may not have heard during the debates, she was accusing Joe Biden of not being pro busing system during the segregation thing in the 70s when there was like the second wave of busing. And she was like, I was one of the kids that got bused to the like better schools, and it helped her, you know, because she was coming from a black community and was being bused into a white community. And but because of that, she did then attend primarily white schools growing up. She also is in like middle school, they moved to Montreal, which is pretty white.
Which I've heard a lot of radical like right people be like, she's Canadian. It's like, oh
And
my
I
God,
know.
get the fuck
I know. Give me a fucking break.
Get out of here.
Yeah, it's so annoying. But yes, she did live in Canada for a little while and did middle school and high school in Montreal, but also in a primarily white school. So she actively chose to go to Howard because she is black and she wanted to, you know, learn amongst, you know, black people and get out of that white, super white environment, which I think is great because that's just sort of there's an awareness there that her education is going to be skewed toward white stories if you're in a white environment. So to be able to like surround yourself then with people that look like you, I think is important. So
And then there at Howard, she studied economics and political science.
political science, yeah.
I was like social studies.
Yeah. And then she she was like, what was it, assistant DA in, I want to say San Francisco.
Yes, in San Francisco.
And that's how she started her career and was with the focus on sex offenders.
Right.
And trying to prosecute sex offenders, which I
Right.
think is really cool. And then she's sort of been working up the ranks. She became the DA of San Francisco. And that's where people then start to freak out.
Right.
So a district attorney is somebody that sort of fights for the state, right? And a public defender would come in and maybe defend people that, you know, or maybe have committed the crime, quote unquote. And then it was Kamala's job to kind of say like, we're going to put this guy in jail for a long time, right?
Right.
So a lot of times like district attorneys don't jive with Democrats.
Ah.
So she actively put herself in a tough position in terms of like being popular amongst people.
Right.
But she says that she did it because she wanted to change the system from the inside out. So if she became a public defender, she would just be doing the same thing that most Democrats do.
Right.
But if she becomes the quote unquote bad guy, she can go in there and then try to work the system from the inside, which I totally relate to this notion. Like, this is the kind of stuff I always say, like, don't preach to the choir, like change it from the inside. So I do actually really respect, people give her a lot of shit for that, but I actually respect that choice that she made. And I think even her parents, I read, were very worried when she was like, I'm going to be a DA. They were like, what? You're going to become one of the bad guys?
Right.
And she was like, I really think that this is how we make change.
She's the type of person, I don't know her personally, but when she makes her mind up about something, she is just loyal to that idea, or you know, with the death penalty. She's completely against the death penalty. She was 30 years ago, she is still today. And I think that I do think people can change and stuff, but she really believes in being against the death penalty. But I just think, it's like holding to your gun or sticking to your...
Yeah, totally. But one of the things people don't like about her is that they call her kind of wishy-washy on some of these things, because she does seem to stick to her guns on some of these things. But then also, when she was the Attorney General of California, she declined to support 2 ballot initiatives that would have banned the death penalty. And a lot of people then say, you know, you say you're anti-death penalty and you had an opportunity to like make this illegal and you're not doing it. The thing about her that I've sort of gleaned is that she also has like a reason for everything. And it's not, some people accuse her of being, that like maybe she was trying to saddle up to somebody politically and that's why she didn't do it. But and maybe that's true. I can't 100% say all these things, but I think that in addition to that, she seems to make decisions using a little logic, which we're not always used to.
Right.
So, which is great. So like maybe there's a reason why that particular...
She gave them that, but then she went after a bigger fish maybe.
Or that like that ballot initiative maybe like had something else tied to it that we're not talking about. I think there's just more story there. Right. So I think, because there was another example that people get really, really upset about. There was a town hall that Jake Tapper did with her when she was running for president. And he asked her, why had you opposed a bill to ensure independent investigation when police use fatal force? So this would be like, let's say police does some police brutality. She, according to Jake Tapper, opposed a bill that would allow an independent investigation into that police officer to hold them accountable. Like these are things that we want to have happen right now. So why did you oppose it? And she says that she never took any position on the bill or ballot initiative because of her duties as Attorney General. And she was sort of claiming that I just never took an opinion about these bills because it would have been a conflict of interest. But as it turns out, she actually did take positions on bills that came through and they were able to prove that. And then she said, oh, well, I misunderstood the question.
Oh, no, I don't like it when people do that.
Yeah, stuff like that. But then at the end of the day, when you go through all the things like, well, then what did she really mean? When they did a real fact check on it, they found that in this particular case, and she should have just maybe said this instead of like not saying it. But one of the issues was that if they had passed that bill, what it would have meant for other DAs, locally elected DAs, is they would have had less control over the investigations. And because she had been a DA, she understood the unique issues that come with being a DA. So she didn't want to pass that, but she had feelings about that particular bill because it like affected the amount of whatever, you know, what it would be to be a DA. So she was using her own experiences to make her decision, which is logical.
Right. Even
though the outcome is not what people necessarily wanted. They did say later though that she did then later come around to some of this thinking in terms of like doing independent investigations. And she did come out with a recommendation to start doing independent investigations and helped assist in those moving. So she changed, so that in the end it changed. So yes, she opposed that bill initially, but then in the end she did like move things forward. But people consider that wishy-washy. You know what I mean? Right. They consider that like not And I understand why people get upset about it, because
Right.
that's like the biggest complaint about her is
Well, I know that she's been a little bit wishy-washy on healthcare too.
right.
Like supporting, like saying healthcare for all, but then still including in the things that she's proposed having private, you
Right.
know,
Exactly.
the horrible people out there. Yeah.
Right.
But now she's really coming out with Medicare for all. So, I mean, here's the thing. I just think that politicians, especially, I mean, a woman like Kamala.
Kamala. Okay.
Kamala.
You should hear her
Think
say
about
it.
Kamala.
Kamala.
God. Once I have it in my brain, I can't say
know,
it right.
it's hard, I know.
Kamala. And the same thing how I kind of feel about Hillary Clinton is that when you have your life's work is meant for good.
Right.
And it gets tricky when you start running for a political office, because then you're being scrutinized for so many things that you've done in the past, where like, I bet if we had a time machine and went back to where her stance, like her intentions were good, but now that it's, 30 years later,
Well, I think
we
also
can say, how dare you?
And I think in addition to what you're saying, just to like put it one level in, is that like it's context.
Right.
Decisions are made in context. So, and we're living in this world where everything is taken out of context, and you look at one little microscopic decision and you don't see the bigger picture of maybe why that decision was made at that time. And time does matter, I mean, it's interesting, even with the busing thing, something that popped up that's sort of unrelated, but, so she really went in on Biden about like,
Oh, yes.
about the busing and being against busing.
That girl was me.
This is sort of interesting to me. Apparently, Biden, when he was interviewed about busing in the 70s in a 1975 interview, his quote was this, and I think this is an interesting thing, but again, context, right? So he said in 1975, Biden, the new integration plans being offered are really just quota systems to assure a certain number of blacks, Chicanos, or whatever in each school. That to me is the most racist concept you can come up with. What it says, no, if you just take that out of context, then that sounds like Biden's racist. But then he goes on to say, what it says is, in order for your child with curly black brown hair, brown eyes, and dark skin to be able to learn anything, he needs to sit next to my blonde-haired, blue-eyed son. That's racist. And I think the point being that why are we busing kids into another school?
Rather
why aren't
than
we
fixing
fixing the
the
school
problem.
system?
Right.
So to like, again, everything is context. And people love to shit on Biden for being like, for the busing or whatever, right? But then what was the context in 1975? What was he trying to actually do? What was
Fascinating.
So I think that like this is where we are losing the plot as humans and Americans and in this whole political jumble right now in terms of how we're determining who's going to be a good president, who's not going to be a good president, who's going to be a good and I think Kamala Harris, I'm doing it too now.
Sorry.
is a good example of this too. I know some people that are just hate her, just hate.
Well, I
hate
tuned
her.
into Fox News just to see what they were saying about her and talking about context. The editing jobs that they do on this shit on Fox News. I mean, and the stuff that they were saying, but also just like taking things out of context and slicing it and just hearing like little sections of what she would say,
right,
and then make it a grander thing. I mean, they think she's a communist, a socialist.
So this is what's crazy.
She's racist too, and you're like, what?
Yeah. So that's the Fox News version of that story.
Right.
Then there's a super like liberal Bernie Sanders supporters, and they hate her because of her record with as a DA and as Attorney General, and like they don't feel like she did enough for police brutality and she put a lot of people in jail for various reasons, because that's what you do as a DA. And so there's a lot of anger there, and understandably, I'm not even gonna say that you don't have a reason. That's a good reason to be skeptical and whatever. There was this really great article that came out, and I read it when it came out, and I could not find it. But y'all should try to find it. I don't know. But it was a woman who had been a public defender in San Francisco when Kamala Harris was a DA, and she says she's like, I am so liberal, and I want total police reform. That's what I want as, and that's one of the reasons why I've become a public defender. I knew Kamala Harris. I knew her as a DA. I worked against her. You know what I mean? We were working, whatever. I also knew all the other DAs that were in that department. And she was by far the most liberal of all of them. And she was only able to push the envelope as far as she could push it. You know, she did push it, but she was not able to do, you know, you would like to see her go in and change these things overnight, but she's one woman trying to make these changes, and she just couldn't do the leaps and bounds that we would like to see. And that was this woman's defense of her, and saying that, you know, if you want a liberal DA, that's about as liberal as they get. So that's worth.
She had to pick her battles, I'm sure.
Yeah, and I think it's worth noting. And I think it's also worth noting that one of her most controversial decisions was when she didn't pursue the death penalty against a man who had murdered a San Francisco police officer. And at the funeral, the senator delivered a eulogy in which she criticized Harris, and the audience gave a standing ovation, which was mostly police officers. So she actively has done things against the police, and we know now how powerful the police union
her for
they still hate her.
They still hate her.
The police unions hate her, and she was the attorney general, which is the top police officer. The attorney general is the position in which you are there to protect the police officers, and if the police officers hate you, that says a lot about you trying to make moves to reform, right? Especially with the police unions and the way the police, we're finding this out more and more and more, that the mentality within the police is almost like we are a family, and almost like we can do no wrong. So if you're not with us, you're against us. Right. So again, this idea that it speaks volumes to me that she is she is the police. She was the police, and the police didn't like her because she was pushing back against the police. So isn't that who we want in office right now? Isn't that what we want, is to push against the unions? But then it's like she's lose-lose, because the unions, she doesn't have support from the police, but then she's not getting the support from the liberals because they think she is the police.
Oh God, that makes me kind of sick.
Yeah. So I think that one of the reasons why I feel like I wanted to talk about her today was to make a call for people that have been really against her to try to see her from a different point of view a little bit, and not just and like we should with everybody, see everybody in full context, and not just in the one, that one thing she didn't pass, the one bill she didn't pass, or the 3 bills she didn't pass, or that guy she put in jail. And maybe sometimes there was a mistake, you know what I mean? Right. And maybe she would even say
that full evidence thing. Did you read about there was something about there was lots of different trials, but they needed the evidence of this cocaine, and then somebody went in to the evidence room and stole and took the cocaine. Right. It's like, is this Miami Vice? No, but then she withheld the evidence or something. Yeah, I don't know.
And then they had to throw out all those drug cases.
Right, so because they didn't have the proper evidence because she was covering. I mean, there's some things, but.
And look,
I don't know.
And I'm not going to say, I'm not really here to fully defend her. I'm just here to paint the picture a little bit broader so that people have more information. Right. And they're not just going by a headline or a meme that somebody posted about her, you know, and because there's so much of that right now. Right. So do a little more due diligence is all I'm saying.
Well, all I have to say too, in 2010, when she did become the attorney general, she was the first woman to be elected into that job of California, and they said that there's pictures of 40 white men and then her.
Right.
So,
and I want to say she was the first Black woman to be elected district attorney in California history, the first woman to be a California attorney general, first Indian American senator, and now the first Black woman and first Asian American to be picked as vice presidential running mate on a major party ticket. So I mean, that's a lot of
bitch.
I mean, that's a lot of It made me think, and I know she doesn't like to be compared to Obama, nor should she, because she's a different person. But it did make me think a lot about my feelings about Obama, too, because Obama, I love Obama, but he was not a perfect president either. No president has been, of course. But one of the things that people get really upset with Obama, and I feel this too sometimes, is that he didn't do enough for the Black community. He really didn't. And I had a conversation with somebody that I know who's biracial, who was really defending Obama and saying like, I get it. I hear people say that all the time, that like he didn't do enough for the Black community. He's like, but there's also that he was the first Black president. He had to dance. So he had a hard enough time as he could barely get anything passed, period. So he was trying to toe this line. And I think that in a similar way, Kamala Harris has to deal with some of those things too, right? Where people expect her, you know, because she's a person of color, they expect her to go in and then change the system and support, you know, people of color 100% every single time. But it's just sort of not how things work. And I'm sorry that they don't, you know, and I would like to see it be more like that too, where she could just go in and then be like, nope, this is how we're doing it. But it's just, what job in the world allows you to just go in and then change everything all at once, you know?
Right.
And the only way that that's happened so far has been Trump kind of coming in and doing all these executive orders. And that's not American. You know, like one of the reasons why we don't like Trump is because he just has his own agenda and he's not serving the people. He's just doing his own thing.
Well, one thing we can really give to her is that she's a fighter and she will fight for us. And I can't wait to see her debate Mike Pence, because we've watched her in Senate hearings with Brett Kavanaugh and with, what was it? How is that white? He looks like a gremlin.
Oh, yeah. Jeff Sessions.
Yeah. He almost cried.
Oh, I mean, he had to like stop and be like, I can't
This makes me so nervous. You're
like,
making me nervous with the time. But she's so good at her job.
And that was actually one of the reasons why I really wanted Stacey Abrams. She would have been my choice for VP. And it's like, I get all this. Like, I didn't want Biden. I didn't even really want Kamala Harris. I wanted Stacey Abrams. But like, that's, now that we're here, the thing that when I texted you about when we knew that she had won the choice, I was relieved in that I know she is a tough cookie, and I felt confident in her abilities to like stand up for herself. And I was worried Tammy Duckworth is amazing in her own right, but I was just worried that she would get a little more steamrolled in some of these things, and because Biden is going to get steamrolled, right. We know that that's going to happen. He's not very good on his feet in that way, so he needed somebody that's like super, super strong and. I don't know.
Spoken. I mean,
she does not seem afraid of anybody. No. And I think that makes me hopeful too.
Right.
So here's one other thing I'd like to talk about with all of this. For those of you that are out here undecided about voting for Biden-Harris ticket because you don't like the ticket, I get it. I get it. I get it. It is not the ticket that I wanted by any means. We had an opportunity, you know, during when we had all these people running, there were so many people I was excited about that were not Joe Biden. You know what I mean? Like there was so many people I would have preferred over him. I read this interesting article. Again, will not cite my source because I can't remember what it was. I'm just thinking of it now. But I read this interesting article about how a lot of the super, super progressives, one thing that they are not understanding is that so much of the country is not on board with Bernie Sanders. They're not on board with Elizabeth Warren. They're not ready they don't want that.
They're too radical.
Do I like that? No, I think it's terrible. Everyone should just get on board. These ideas are not even that crazy. But the point is you're underestimating how conservative America is. And I think if we really want to beat Trump, then I kind of get why people voted for Biden. Sorry, guys. Did the DNC fuck around there? That is something worth exploring for sure. I don't feel great about that by any means. But I also just feel like here's where we're at. And this idea that Trump would be better. I mean, I don't understand the not voting for Biden-Harris. No. I just don't understand.
No, I don't get it either.
And I'm not trying to shame anybody. I get it's not helpful to say like, what's wrong with you? Why wouldn't you do that? But I just am curious, like are you not so concerned about what will happen in the next 4 years? Because you have an opportunity, if you're really, really progressive, you actually have an opportunity to be heard and have real change happen if we get Biden-Harris in office. You do not have that opportunity.
We don't want to see what would happen if Trump gets reelected.
I don't want that.
No. This is the most important election of our lives. It really, truly is. And if you're still on the fence, if Trump, it makes me insane.
Yeah.
I could start listing all the reasons why you shouldn't vote for Trump, but you know better. And the ticket is Trump versus Biden. That's it. If you start voting independent, I swear to God, I'm going to come to your fucking house. But anyway.
And it's like, and I get it, and we can totally have a conversation about that and like how our system is kind of broken anyway.
The party system is broken. I completely agree. You know what? But that's not, the election is in what, 80 something days? So I don't know what day it is, but it's so close. And it is Biden and Trump. Those are our options. Do not write in Elizabeth Warren, although she would have been a really wonderful president. Don't write her name in.
No.
That she's not on the ticket.
No. And also we're in an unprecedented time too, where they are trying to suppress voting so much. That we need everybody, all hands on deck. We really, really do. And I know some people are listening to this and they're getting annoyed at us for like, you know, denying. And look, you do have the right to vote for who you want to vote for. You do have the right. You have the right to not vote. Right, you know, you can do all those things. And there's maybe little we can say right now that would convince you otherwise. But I don't know what else to do. I don't know.
Say, if you're undecided still, just shoot us an email. We will not share the email. We'll just have a private conversation with you. But let's talk. Because
or even if you're decided to not vote, if you want to send us an email, I would. I would love to try to vote for
Jill Stein again or something. I don't know. Right. Like, let's have a conversation. It can be a completely private conversation. But we are legitly scared for our bodies, for our friends' bodies.
Yeah.
Like, this is a serious, serious thing. We're at war. I swear to God, we're
already in war, yeah. The other thing I just have a question. If you're a kind of person that does not want to vote for Biden and you want to send a message like to the DNC and say like, look, we're not going to put up with your nonsense anymore, so we're not going to vote for Biden. What is the desired outcome? You know, does the DNC even know that you didn't vote? Do you know what I mean? What is what even if you vote for third party, okay, that's clearly like then you protesting the DNC. What is your desired outcome? Is your desired outcome that then Trump wins? Mm-hmm. Because that's what's going to happen. So I think, wouldn't it be more productive to have the desired outcome be, let's pick someone that's, even if it's a small step in your mind, a step closer to your ideals, so that then we can get your ideas in there. But if you vote for Trump, you're voting for somebody that will not listen to you ever again. And the other thing I just want to say too is, some people are like, I really hate Biden, I really hate Harris. Okay, you're allowed to hate them. That's totally fine. You're not voting for Biden and Harris. You're voting for their Supreme Court picks. You're voting for their the people that they put into their cabinets and stuff like that. Those people are so important to our political systems. And I think that we get so caught up in the specifics of the president and the vice president that it almost doesn't matter who the president and vice president are. Trump is insane. Cabinet, yeah. Trump is terrible, but Trump isn't the one doing all the damage, really.
Right.
It's like all the people that he has surrounding him that are allowing him to make these decisions. And it's not Trump making these decisions. He's too fucking dumb. It's the people around him that are doing this. Right. I think that is also something I'm trying to move away from too. Is like, I hate Trump, whatever. It's not about him. It's about the system that is now taking over in place. Trump could die of a heart attack tomorrow. And it wouldn't change anything. Yes. It's not like that's going to change much. It's not like, oh, ding dong, the witch is dead. It won't matter.
Right.
Because we've already put some literally evil presence in place. And that is how we get rid of it, is by voting in somebody else. Now, if you want to argue that Biden is also evil, have you seen what's happening right now? It's just not, it's apples and oranges.
What is the saying that people are one issue voters, one?
Yeah. Well, there's that. So then there's some people that hate Trump, Republicans, but they're Christian, quote unquote, quote unquote, and they're only
anti-abortion,
and that's all they care about is abortion. But and I don't understand that.
Well, so I've been reading all these studies too about statistically, if you're truly against abortions, then you should be voting Democrat.
Yes.
It's all there.
Yeah.
We fight. We give women's rights. We provide birth control. There will be less abortions if you vote Biden.
Yeah.
That's the truth.
Yeah.
So what's happening?
Right. Because the thing is, like, the less information that we have about sex, and we've talked about this in the pod, the less information we have about safe sex and safe practicing sex, less access we have to birth control and any kind of birth information. We've talked about sex ed on the podcast before too, how sex ed, if you have proper sex ed, you learn that young people and anybody can practice sexual activities that do not involve intercourse if they want, if they're worried about getting pregnant. There's all these options, but to then just say it's
abstinence and
then you are in trouble.
There's going to be more the statistics are there. They've been studying this stuff for 50 years. You can look back and it's just there.
Yeah.
So
if you really, 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 really care about anti-abortion, then vote Democrat. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, and tell your friends. I think that here's the other thing. Yeah, and tell your friends. But I do think that, like, I've been thinking a lot about. So you know me, like, I love to get into Facebook arguments with strangers, and I
didn't log on to Facebook this week too.
That's genius.
Happy birthday, me.
Yes, I need to like get off because I hit a heartbreaking wall.
Oh no!
This week, it's just like
reading other people's
comments, and then getting into it with this one particular woman. I was, you know me, like I say, like we're fighting, but I'm very like kind, and I'm very like just trying to be like, please explain to me. No, it was like somebody we met on tours, like page. So it wasn't even the page that I was on wasn't even someone I knew very well, but he was very liberal, so that was cool. And then his friend or somebody that just was like out of her mind. I mean, just, and why am I even engaging? But it was about Black Lives Matter stuff. And she was pulling out all those like, well, what about black on black crime? And I was like, why are you even bringing this up? Why? Like, what are you insinuating? You know, because there's a part of me too where I just want people to be like, I'm racist because like you are if you're making those arguments, you are racist. You just don't want to admit it. So like I was sort of trying to like gently edge her. I just wanted to hear her say it.
Did you write R dash?
I should have just. When I was also just trying to point out that like these arguments, and she'll say like, well, the statistics. I'm like, let me tell you about statistics. And by the way, I just want to throw this one out there. If anybody hears the like black on black, what about black on black crime? First of all, it's unrelated to police brutality. The conversation. So that's just a way to deflect the conversation away from police brutality. So there's that. Secondly, no one talks about white on white crime.
Oh, yeah,
and most crimes committed against white people are perpetrated by white people. Most crimes committed against black people are perpetrated against black people. The reason why that is because most crimes are perpetrated by people that we know. The people that are already in our by your husband, by your boyfriend, by your neighbor, by your boss, by your employee. It's by people that are already in your community. And because we live in a segregated country, most black people still live in black communities and most white people still live in white communities. So yeah, like black on black crime, there's a lot of that. There's also a lot of white on white crime. So I'm so tired of hearing that shit. And when you say that, what you are implying is that black people are violent. And that's racist. And that's what I was trying to get her. Anyway, the long story short.
Did you school her?
I mean, the thing is that she's not listening. And I'm trying to sort of explain. She wants to like whatever. And so I got to a point where I was like trying to like go through her points. And then she got to this point where she just started being like, Democrats just want like sex trafficking to, be whatever.
And then she's like these crazy.
Right. And I was like, and I said to her, I was like, I never even said I was a Democrat. I never said I was a Republican. I never said I was a Democrat. I never said I was a socialist. I never said you brought and she was also the other thing I've been hearing from Republicans a lot is that the Democrats are trying to divide us and that Black Lives Matter is trying to divide us. And I'm like, no, you are trying to divide us right now in this conversation by labeling me as a Democrat. That's not what we're talking about. That's the politicization. I'm trying to talk about freedom and justice for all. You're having a different conversation. You're trying to prove to me that Democrats are evil.
Right.
This is different. We're having two separate conversations. Right. So anyway, the reason I bring all that up is that I think I just like I think I'm getting closer to like giving. I'm getting closer to giving up on trying to talk to people online anymore. And what I want to do instead is focus on like, what can we do that's positive? What are things that I can do mentally stay in like more of a positive state, and then like actively, like what are actions I can take? So I bring this up, this very long story, to beseech all of you listeners. This is something that I think we can all do together. If we can all just take little actions, not fighting people anymore. And I'm the pot calling kettle black here.
Where's Katie?
I know, but like, let's stop with the fight. I'm done. Like, I think we should not fight people on Facebook. But what are things we can do? Like, how do we get people to help people register to vote? Let's do those actions instead. How do we, and you can post about like where people can go to vote. Who do you need to talk to try to get, you have an undecided voter friend. Don't yell at them. Don't call them stupid for thinking about voting for Trump. Just help give them some more resources so that they can make a good decision, and be supportive and with a loving whatever. Like, let's all, with our 3 listeners, like if we can, however many of you are there, but like, let's all like, do you want to like join in a pact with us to do good things?
Oh, I love that.
And like, let's
I've been
make some
practicing.
phone calls to support Biden Harris,
I've signed up for Vote Save America.
And I signed
I've
up too.
What did you adopt?
Pennsylvania.
Oh, look at
I've
us
done a
with our
lot.
babies.
I know.
North Carolina and Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
See? So votesaveamerica.com. I highly recommend doing that. I just came across tie-dye for Biden. Oh my God. I'm obsessed.
What is it?
If you donate $25 towards the Biden campaign, they will send you a tie-dyed t-shirt that says Biden Harris on it.
Great. That's
for free.
Wonderful.
For free. Tie-dye for Biden. Love
Amazing.
it. There's a wait list because obviously
there was another movement that was like, and I have to look into this more, so I don't know if I totally support them yet or not, but I like this idea from what I glean from it, that apparently every time Trump tweets something terrible, there's like an agreement that everybody donates just like a micro donation to Black Lives Matter.
Love it.
Things like
Love
that. Let's do that. Let's turn the negative, hateful shit into like positive momentum, because I'm tired of feeling scared and sad, and I want to feel optimistic. Right. And like Mr. Rogers said, that when he was scared, his mother's always said, you should look to the helpers. Don't look at the bad stuff. Look to the helpers when you feel bad and when you're scared.
Look to the helpers.
So let's look to the helpers, everybody, and let's all become helpers and do what we need to do. Well,
and as
Kamala.
Do you know they say this is a totally random fact, but she is married, and she has 2 stepchildren, and they call her Mamala.
Yeah, I love that too. I also kind of love that she married later in life.
Yeah, me too. I love it. And then wait, what did her mom tell her? It's like, don't be you can be the first in something, but don't be the last.
Yeah.
And I like that too.
Yeah.
Wow. It's a beautiful day in the neighborhood. A beautiful day in the neighborhood.
I mean, yes, let's make it a beautiful day in the neighborhood and be friends with our neighbors and community organized.
What a concept. Wow.
Let's love each other.
We got this.
We got this. You guys, we got this. Love defeats hate. And somebody help me. I'm like losing my mind.
Check out Vote Save America, you guys. Please vote. Yes.
Yeah, and send us an email. Why not?
Kamala.
I'm gonna play the video for you.
Kamala.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye.
Every morning at 10 in the morning, my cell phone rings. Every morning at 10 in the morning, my cell phone sings. Time to take my birth control. Time to take my birth control. 'Cause I love you, baby, but I don't want you, baby, so I'll take my birth control. I know you make a really great dad, but you're probably really, really mad if I didn't take my birth control. Yeah, didn't take my birth control. 'Cause you love my baby, but you don't want my baby, so I'll take my birth control. I know the pill makes me fat. With the baby, I'm twice the size of that. So I always take my birth control. Yeah, I always take my birth control. 'Cause I love my body, baby, it'd be bigger with the baby, so I always take my birth control.
birth control.
Oh, you better do that then.
Ah, yes, a 6-month pack. Thanks. You done? Mm-hmm. I can barely make my rent. With the baby, I moved to a tent. So I always take my birth control. Yeah, I always take my birth control. Cause I don't want a baby that ruin my life. So I always take my birth control. Oh, shit.